Hi, I'm just a simple mono looking for my probe to kidnap and eventually murder Leo, and welcome to In Bed with a BL. Today we're covering a very interesting and one of my personal favorites, BL, Color Rush. Color Rush is a fantasy slash sci-fi story where there are two types of people who can see color and people who cannot. So you have the mono and then the non-mono. There's a third special type of people called the probe, and the probe, when they meet a mono, they help the mono see color, which usually drives the mono to go crazy and like kidnap the probe and maybe murder them, because once they see the world of color, they cannot go back. This concept is like super interesting for me. I really like it. I am a colorblind person, so I am super duper excited for a story that has colorblind people. The fact that we go crazy and murder and kidnap is whatever, but it's super cool, it's interesting, it's very novel. Korean gay stories often are a lot more creative in their stories. You don't generally have the typical like, oh, I met him in high school, oh, I met him in college, and just we're lovers, whatever. Usually Korean stories have a lot more like fantasy-esque or creativity involved in what's going on. I think this stems from the director Lee-Song Hee-il, who made No Regret, which is considered the first gay full feature in Korea. His movies, this director has made lots of gay movies, and all of them have very interesting and strange parts to them. So I think that helped shape Korean gay cinema also. So this show, just like many other gay movies in Korea and gay TV shows in Korea, is very interesting and isn't a very typical story. The cast of characters in this is very small. There's only really 5 interesting people. We have Choi Yi-woo, who is the mono, Go Yu-hong, which is the probe, Yoo Yi-rong, which is the aunt of the mono, Junju Haing, which is the friend of the probe and like the student council president of the classroom type of thing, Kim Min-jae, who is also another friend of the probe, and he is interesting because he can maybe see ghosts, or at least one ghost in particular, and uses that to give inspirational and very thoughtful quotes to the mono and the probe and help push the story along at some points. I will use the names mono and probe and aunt just because I really suck at Korean, and if I say their names too much, it's going to sound really stupid and probably insulting to everybody from South Korea. So I will be using mono, probe, aunt, ghost friend, and student council president friend, because it's easier for me and less horrendous to everyone else. So as I was saying before, I really like this story. It's only 8 episodes long, and each episode is about 15 minutes. So it's very short, sweet. It's kind of like Pringles or candy. Like, you see 2 episodes a week and you just kind of eat it up. It's small and you always want more. I found it very interesting because the story is very contained and it never went like over its boundaries. The concept itself is really cool. The world of monos and probes and this kind of futuristic, even though it's modern times, but almost like futuristic or a different world, this fantasy vibe was very interesting to me, and I always want more. So every time an episode ended, I couldn't wait for the next episode. And sometimes when you have an interesting story or interesting concept, it gets stretched too much and they try to pull at straws to make it more interesting and you get bored. But this one, since it was so small and tight, it wasn't boring, which I thought was amazing. We have the probe and the mono. And a mono can only see in black and white and the 7 different shades of gray. There might be more grays, but he lists off like a rainbow of grays, and it's about 7 colors. I myself am colorblind, but I am not like the mono colorblind. I just can't see certain colors. So like this and this will look the same to me. Other people might see other colors. So I still found this really interesting because I don't know of another situation where a gay story where a main character was colorblind and that was like a core concept of the story. Colorblindness is like really stupid in general because it doesn't really affect my life, except people just think I'm an idiot. Like, they'll say, oh hey, go grab that purple book, and I'll grab the wrong color because I don't see purple. So I was just like, I'm already 100% attached to this. I am biased to the story, and I'll probably give it a very biased score, but I also try to give it a less biased score as well because I want to be fair. The main problem that most people seem to really have with this story is that they wanted more from it, which I think is usually a really good thing, because since people wanted more, that meant they were interested and they would like to see more in the future. The main problem is people really wanted to know what happened to the mother. So in the trailer and even in the first episode, you understand the main character's mother has gone missing. His mother is a mono and his father was the mono's probe. And you see like small snippets of the mother and father interacting and how they met and how she reacted to her color rush the first time in the park. It's really cute. And that is why the mono lives with his aunt. The aunt is also a reporter and she's trying to figure out what happened to her sister and she wants to solve the mystery. People assume since she is a mono that she killed her husband and ran away, or kidnapped him and ran away and maybe did a murder-suicide. We don't know what's going on. A lot of people though got really upset because I did notice this a lot and it actually made me really nervous when they're advertising the show. They boosted up the mother mystery a lot, like, oh, these two young lovers are gonna solve the mystery of his missing mother and blah 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 blah. And I thought it made me nervous because like they're high school students. What are they gonna do? They're gonna take down a crime syndicate? What is this Pokemon Red Blue and we're just gonna take down Team Rocket? Like, or an 80s story where we have to take down a corporate monster who's trying to take down the dance hall to build the parking lot. Like, no, that's stupid. So a lot of people were kind of angry that they didn't conquer the case of the missing mother, but I didn't need it. You don't need it for the story. The story maybe was advertised poorly, but the story isn't really about the mother. The mother was there to give good backstory on the mono, why he feels the way he is, and also like the world he lives in. So I think she was a great concept for fleshing out the world and making the world lived in and interesting, but we don't need to know about it for this story. If they went too far and deep into it, it might make the story boring because you'd be like, what? Like, if they find too much information, there's a good chance for it to just be overdone and unnecessary, make you not like it anymore. Another thing that people wish there were more of, and I also agree with this, is Kim Min-jae, the ghost seeing friend. He is very cryptic and he has a fan and it's very magical. He's very interesting. I was hoping him and the student council president friend were gonna like pair off and be a side couple. And as you know and everyone knows, the side couples are usually much better because they're just a lot more interesting and you desire them more because you see them less. So I was really hoping for that, but they apparently say friends, or maybe they're a couple. We don't know because they're not in it that much. Yet again, the story's not about them, so it's not a big loss, but especially him seeing ghosts maybe, or one ghost, or being psychic, or maybe even lying about that, I just thought was super duper interesting, and I wish there was more of that. And other people complained about that too, but that's just yet again an interesting character that wasn't necessary for the story, and me just liking them so much that I wish I had more. And I think other people also have the same feeling. Maybe we'll see more in the future, I don't know. And really the final gripe I had with this was the probe. Sometimes his acting was a little weird. I think this is his first acting situation. He's a singer, but there were just a couple parts where it just felt like a little flat, but he also had a lot of really good highs. Like whenever he saw the mono, his expression got really happy and he had really good reactions and everything like that. So I think he did a good job. It was just sometimes during like the romantic scenes where it's just two of them together being sweet and saying like really emotional lines, it was like a little, but it's fine. It wasn't a big deal. So I still think he did a really good job, and he is so handsome. Now let's talk about why the show is super duper good. So we already know it's short and sweet and perfect and really hits all the spots. Another really cool thing is the world they live in, where monos, once they meet their probes, go crazy and eventually kill or kidnap or do something bad to their probe. The first scene, we know the mother is missing and we know there's a mystery about that. And then throughout the series, there are newspaper clippings and TV shows and news articles about monos going crazy and killing themselves and killing other people because seeing colors for the first time and having it taken away makes them go crazy. Our main character is a mono and his love interest is a probe. So all of these things give you this weird background information or a little nervous thing that like, oh no, something's gonna go wrong. In literature, sometimes people call this the Chekhov's gun. So an example is in the first scene of a TV show, you show that there's a bomb somewhere, or you show a gun, or a nail in a floorboard. and you know that's there. No one talks about it, but you know it's there, so you get tension in your heart. You're like, oh my god, the bomb's gonna blow up, or oh, someone's gonna step on the nail, or someone's gonna use the gun. So the news reports and the Mother Missing, I think, are just really good at giving you this atmosphere without saying, hey, hey, hey. Like the whole time, you know this situation's going on. You know these two lovers are Mono and Probe. So you're like, oh my god, is he gonna go crazy? Is he gonna kill the Probe? Is he gonna do something bad to the Probe? Does the Probe even know what's going on? And for me, I thought that was really interesting. And I actually thought this was gonna be a tragedy at the end because it had all these warning signs, and I thought it was really cool. And then towards the end, the Mono starts to slip a lot, and you go full Monty, like, oh my god, he's gonna kill the crap out of this guy. And I was really curious about that. I thought it was like super duper cool. It's like, oh my god, this is dark, this is crazy. This is really Korean BL. Like I said, Korean BLs are really good at twisting something and making like super interesting and crazy. On top of the Chekhov's gun situation, the power dynamic between the Mono and the Probe is really interesting. Because in the beginning of the story, when the Mono has the first color rush, also the color rush is like a little bit cheesy. Like he takes his mask off and he is a K-pop trainee, which is funny because he's a K-pop star. So he's always wearing one of these cool masks. And at first I was like, oh my god, mask fashion, COVID-19 realness. But he's doing like the K-pop thing where he needs to hide his face and look really cool. And also the thing with the mask, we talked about this before, masks make you look more handsome. Like, oh my god, I look amazing right now. I know. You can't see half his face. Even though we know what he looks like, he looks more attractive with the mask on because you can't see his face and your brain makes you think he's beautiful. So whenever he does like the dun dun, at first you're like, oh weird. And then it has like the glowing lights, the colors rushing, and the pupils dilate, whatever. But I thought it was really funny. It's so cheesy, it's so stupid. When I saw it in the trailer, I thought the show was gonna be really, really stupid. But anyways, power dynamic is very interesting because at first you thought, oh, the Mono needs the Probe only and the Mono's gonna go crazy and the Probe has all the power and he's gonna control him. And then I got nervous that since this is BL, it's gonna get really weird and he's gonna have like this weird like ownership over him. This is kind of spoiler, so I'm gonna mark this spoiler. They hinted this throughout the whole season, and it was actually really fun because I was chatting on like my forum groups about, oh my god, I think this Probe has facial blindness. And you kind of see it how he interacts with other people and how he talks, some of the words he uses and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure the Probe has facial blindness and for some reason he can see the Mono. And once you start thinking about that, it really changes the power dynamic. Because at first you're like, oh, the Probe has all the power. But the Probe actually needs the Mono too because the Probe helps the Mono see color, but the Mono actually is a face the Probe can finally see and remember. So they actually like complete each other really well. So something that made me really uncomfortable actually turned out to be like a really cool thing. So that made me really happy. And towards the end, as the Mono's going crazy, the Probe actually starts going a little crazy too because the Mono keeps keeping distance and the Probe wants to get closer to him. So it kind of, I don't know, it turned out to be like less desperate and more awkwardly romantic because at least they have the same desire that they need each other. Healthy? I don't know. Interesting? Very. And one last thing, and this is also gonna be a spoiler, so spoiler section. The ending was like a little too clean for me, so it had a happy ending, which I'm very happy about. In the last 2 episodes, they kind of do this thing. I'm gonna be kind of vague anyways, but they do this thing, and a situation happens where the Mono might be in super duper trouble from his actions. His actions weren't that bad, but he's a Mono with his Probe, and turns out the Probe comes from a fancy family. And you're like, oh my god, how is this gonna end? Is this gonna be tragedy? Is this gonna be sad? I'm still nervous, I still think it's a tragedy. But then like towards the end, the Probe just makes a phone call and goes, hey, everything's okay again, amazing. And it's kind of over and then everyone's happy. So I didn't want like a power fight, but maybe if they didn't have like the phone call that made everything better, or they didn't say, hey, my family might get you in trouble or put you in jail or something, like that was a couple lines they could have taken out, which would have made the ending like seem less too wrapped up, too clean. So that was just like a little weird at the end, but maybe they just didn't know how to cut it up so easily in the small frame of the episodes. But it still wasn't that bad of a wrap up. So all in all, I personally, because I'm biased and this is about colorblind people, I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10. I think biased, you'd probably give it an 8 out of 10, but this is my YouTube channel, so I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It was really cheesy. Like, there are some really cheesy parts, and the color effects when he takes off his mask was a little lame, I give you that. The wrap up the end was kind of a killer for me. I thought that was kind of lame. Whatever. But you have cool acting, attractive people. The story was very novel and interesting. Every week I couldn't wait to get more Color Rush. I thought it was really cool. And the advertising, I thought this was gonna be a really crappy show. I even texted my friends, I'm like, this looks god awful, but it's about colorblind people, so I wanna see it. So I had very low expectations of it, and it turned out to be super duper interesting. So I'm very happy. Finally, there is one key point that is super duper important, and one of the main reasons why this is so high in score. This is a super duper important point. Not one time during this show does them being two boys become a problem or topic of conversation. So many gay things, and it's, you know, like, being gay is hard. There's always trouble, like, oh, it's gonna ruin his life, it's gonna ruin his life. People have trouble with that all the time, whatever. But this is a fantasy world. In this fantasy world, at least in the story, and that's all that matters, that's what we're seeing, no one cares that there are two boys that are gonna get together. The only thing people care about is the mono and probe, because the world they live in, monos hurt probes. So this, like, trope of, like, a bigger picture or them not being together for a different reason kind of has a really good message for gay people, because the aunt doesn't care that they're two boys when she finds out. She just cares, oh my god, you're a mono, you might hurt him or get in trouble. None of his friends go, oh no, you're two boys. If anything, this is a small series, it's super easy to watch, and I think more people should see it just for that reason alone. This is a gay story where them being gay together doesn't cause a problem, and it's not even the topic of the story. It mostly deals with the mono and probe aspect. Them being two boys, like, didn't really matter. The drama with it was not from them being two boys. You could make them a boy and a girl, you could make them two girls. It wasn't about, it's not really a coming out story. It's just a story with two gay protagonists together. But like I said, you could put anything in there, because the message, the theme is the mono and probe situation. So I like the concept of just having, like, gay characters living in a story where the theme and the object of the story, the plot, doesn't revolve around them being gay. Like, it's a gay love story, so obviously it's about them being gay, but, like, the drama, the problems, the world does not revolve around them being gay. That's not what's causing the problem. That's not what they need to resolve. What they need to resolve is, like, the bigger thing. And I just find that kind of interesting. I felt it very refreshing, because you always have a story of it, like, it's a coming out story, like, oh, I don't like boys, you're just the only boy I like, or there's always an ex-girlfriend that wants to fight them, get them in trouble. This is just him realizing, it's almost like X-Men. X-Men, you can put any gay. X-Men, you can put any minority, any smaller class into one of the superheroes, and it'll fit, because it's like an allegory for this. The mono and probe can be an allegory for many things that aren't against the norm. So I thought that was really, really cool. So, what am I doing? I just finished #1 for You, the Taiwanese drama, and I'm definitely gonna make a movie about that sooner than later, because it was super duper good. The ending was very interesting, and I can't wait to talk about it, because it's just really good. You should watch it. Taiwan is great. I'm still watching Manner of Death, as always. I've been talking about this forever. I think there's only like 2 episodes left, and I really like it. I'm just realizing, I think I know about this before, but one of the main characters is named That, and it was really confusing for a long time, and I guess my brain was just glitching when it happened. But when they say that, they're talking about a character, which I thought was really weird. But it's great, you should watch it. That and his relationship with the other boy kind of reminds me of the relationship from Night Flight, which is another Korean movie made by the director who did No Regret. So that's a cool tie-in. So check out Man or Death. Everything is awesome about that. Another story where it's not about them being gay, it's gay characters in a bigger picture. Super awesome. And apparently I'm on a Korean trick, because I also watch Wish You, which is I guess it was kind of like Color Rush, where it was a small series and they just put it into a movie on Netflix. That one is kind of a little bit more generic, but it's still very interesting. It's like a music producer, and the main character is mysterious and he's a good singer, and he wants to make a record label, and there's drama from that. But yet again, has nothing to do with him being gay, and there's a bigger picture. So definitely worth a watch. Also, the love interest singer has a body for days. So you should watch it just for that, if anything. So, like always, hope you had a happy Lunar New Year if you celebrate that. That just ended after I posted this. I was just on vacation, and instead of making lots of videos, I recorded lots of videos, but I didn't edit anything. So hopefully I should have some more going in the works sooner and have a better schedule. Yeah. So like and subscribe, and talk to you later. Bye.